Okay, hello everyone. My name is Tom Geisler, and this is a special segment of Autism Inside Out. This is a presentation that I have been working on for a number of weeks now, actually, and many hours of work on this. And of course, just getting the concept. It's a very, very interesting, in-depth topic to talk about. And I've done a PowerPoint of this that I want to take out and actually do in public presentation. And while it's fresh, I want to create this as a video that people can give me feedback on. Neurodiverse, neurotypical, anybody. I think it's important that this starts a dialogue about this topic, so I'm not so concerned about you finding errors or whatever in statistics or concepts or whatever. But it is, I think, a very valid issue. I think it is a very unique perspective, an important perspective that is not being addressed. And I hope that you will see in this what I see in it. And it's very possible you don't. So let's begin. What I'm doing here is I've got my computer set up with like 24-inch monitors, and this is the PowerPoint being played. And so some of this print gets small, and I may be squinting a little, looking kind of weird. Okay. Just as a general introduction to me, I'm Tom Geisler, or Thomas Geisler. I was just diagnosed on the 2nd of February, or the 21st of February of 2018. I had been previously diagnosed attention deficit disorder, ADHD, I think it was then officially, dyslexia, cross dominance, and I was hypoxic at birth, which they said caused brain damage. That was back in '71, about the age of 11. I have since then found, and I just actually made a mistake on this, I have to correct. I had put synesthesia and I meant to put alexithymia. I'm finding out all these different characteristics or traits or expressions of autism in me as time goes on. It's a lot more than I ever suspected. And I think I will find more as time goes on here. My presentation I'm calling A Mile in Their Shoes. And I say it's an autistic perspective because what I've learned in the process of discovering that I'm autistic is a change in my perspective from neurotypical, or thinking I was neurotypical, to understanding and accepting that I'm autistic. And this is brought up, what I'm presenting here. This has brought up an observation that I think is a key misunderstanding between the neurotypical and neurodiverse communities, and one of the main reasons why there is as much pain and suffering as there is in our community. And there is a tremendous amount of pain and suffering. It is no small issue. By our nature, we just tend to be kind of reserved, quiet people. But if you could hear the cries, it would be alarming. So what this focuses on is ND, neurodiverse, and NT, neurotypical relations. And it's important to understand those relations and how it affects the understanding of autism by neurotypical. And even, I think this issue will help neurodiverse people understand themselves better too, in relationship to the mainstream or the neurotypical society and culture. I think this is what will help us improve our quality of lives as neurodiverse people. This is the tip of the iceberg, which is why I put this picture. These are symptoms of the pain and suffering that I was talking about, that 2 out of 3 autistic people think about suicide as an option of coping. 35% will plan or attempt to kill themselves. I'm in that 35%. But what you don't see, the part that's underwater, you don't see the daily struggle. You don't see the constant struggle, not only with some of the traits of autism, but a lot of it is trying to maintain a life in a society that does not support the needs that we have as neurodiverse people. Albert Einstein had said you cannot solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that created it. And that's what I'm trying to do here, is I'm trying to get us to think about this whole situation in a very different way, and I think a more accurate way. And I think a way that can possibly lead to real solutions. The same level of consciousness that created it. How do we change our level of consciousness? Where I got the name of this presentation was, before you criticize someone, you should walk a mile in their shoes. Trying to get in the perspective of another person. This is what autism awareness is attempting. They want to say, look, we'll tell you about what we're experiencing. We'll go through all this stuff, and we just want you to understand that we've got special needs, and there's blah, 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 blah. And it just kind of has hit a wall. Yeah, the awareness is growing, but the suffering isn't stopping. The things that we need to accomplish through this autism awareness aren't happening. And this is why I made this presentation. Now, there's another part of this, before you criticize someone, you should walk a mile in their shoes, that I enjoy. That's why I included this. That is, that way when you criticize them, you're a mile away from them and you have their shoes. I just always thought that was the most clever way of amending that general thought. Okay, thinking outside of our normal perspective. This is how we learn and expand beyond ourselves. This is something all organisms do. This is why we have senses. This is why we have awareness. Because our environment constantly changes. We have to monitor it. We have to pay attention to what's going on around us so that we can survive. This is one way that we change our perspective. Physically, we go, and that's why I like this cartoon, it's like one person says boat, the other one says land, and they both want each other, whatever they got. It's just that after a time, they've got these different perspectives. This is theory of mind too going on here. I just put that as a note for possible discussion about being one of the autistic traits. That some people have a very weak theory of mind. Now, thinking outside of our own normal perspective, I put normal up there because it's very important that we look at how we use the word normal. Because normal ends up being the cause of some problems in our thinking process. There are problems with how we maintain what we call our normal. Now, autism, I'm saying, cannot be understood by just a change in perspective. This is something beyond what we were looking at with the two people in the boat and that type of reasoning. And this is why we're having problems with autism awareness becoming an awareness of what our true needs are and the changes happening in society that we really need to happen. There is what's called normalcy bias. And the way that normalcy bias trips up people is the same way I think that's affecting the awareness of autism. Normalcy bias is where you take a intelligent, rational person and say, in 48 hours, a hurricane's going to hit here, category 5.5, 6, the strongest it's ever been recorded. It is ripping the dirt off the continent. I mean, it is like, okay, let's make this really, really, really scary. And the person goes, that's nice. And it's like, wait a second. We're talking about you're going to die if you don't leave. You got to leave. No, I'm not leaving. What is going on there? It's a normalcy bias. And let me go into this further. What is this normalcy bias? What is the roots of this? And how is this similar to what's happening with what's going on with autism? It boils down to homeostasis. This guy is sitting in that chair. Of course, there was a train coming. Let's say that was the hurricane. So this guy is sitting there in that chair reading his paper. And he's okay with that. Why? Homeostasis, the ability or tendency of a person or of society to keep conditions inside it the same. Stability. It's instinctual. It's what this person is trying. This is what this person is doing. He's saying, this is my home. This is my shelter. This is my food. This is everything I need to survive biologically, psychologically, physically, emotionally. All these things are because of where I'm at right now. And you're asking me to leave. Didn't say it's rational. Didn't say it's logical. But it is instinctual. That person is so sure that their survival is dependent on them staying there that they stay. Okay. So it's keeping the conditions the same. Stability.